You know, it's interesting. Out of all of the events and all of the locations that we visit in the original Final Fantasy VII, the train graveyard is one of those places that really invokes the greatest sense of nostalgia for me when I think about that original game. You know, it's kind of interesting because the train graveyard is such a somber, it's actually such a depressing place that it's kind of weird that it's also one of the most memorable locations for me from the original game. But I'm actually really looking forward to seeing it fully fleshed out in the remake and to see what Square do with it. And they've actually shared some information about this, so I'm going to be reading some of that to you today, and we're going to be exploring it a little bit. I'll also leave a link to their article down in the video description if you want to check that out. But I don't know whether it's the music in the original, that score by Nobuo Uematsu with the Anxious Hearts theme, or whether it's just the fact that we have the lightning between the cables flashing all over the place, and just the loneliness of the trains, the fact that they themselves have their own graveyard and we have these ghosts wandering around. There's just something very special about this place that just really sets the scene, really sets the theme of Midgar and Shinra and just the whole game, in my opinion. So I hope they do right by this location in the remake. And they are going to be adding brand new story, it seems, to the train graveyard, and just fleshing out the location with its own plot, and you know how we come to understand what the train graveyard is about. I'm just going to read to you what it is that Square have told us now. They say, talking about the game, that the story is more detailed too, with more dialogue, story sequences, and a greater portrayal of citizens' lives. The train graveyard is a perfect example of this. Originally used during the construction of Midgar, this area has since become a junkyard for old and abandoned trains. Strong winds make the rusting carriages creak and groan, and odd high-pitched sounds echo over the area. They're really tapping into that nostalgia, I'm telling you. The train graveyard is such an iconic location from the original game. I don't even know whether it was intended when it was first made to be set up that way, but that's certainly how it's become over the years. You may remember this location from the original Final Fantasy VII. In that game there was no dialogue, but in Final Fantasy VII Remake, characters will talk to each other as they explore the maze of wreckage. Please have Uematsu's theme playing Anxious Hearts as we're doing so. The new game also adds new story into this area with multiple event scenes. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. Can somebody maybe make head or tail out of this? And if so, let us know in the comments section. What the heck is this thing that Aerith is interacting with? Some weird stitched up enemy, it looks like. I'm not sure. That is strange. Anyway, we've also got an image here of Cloud, Tifa and Aerith exploring one of the actual trains themselves. I saw this image at first before reading the story, and I didn't actually click at first that it is actually taking place in the train graveyard, but it's kind of obvious when you know you've got the train carriage in the background there, and they are themselves, of course, in one of the trains. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on here, what they're talking about, but the fact that the train graveyard is being fleshed out with its own story, and that the characters are going to be mulling over it and talking about it. Perhaps there's going to be some interaction there, some quests. It talks about multiple events taking place. I'm really interested in just seeing what Square do with this place, because as I say, I think it is one of the more iconic areas from the original game, which is kind of strange because it is such a depressing location, but it just really sets the scene for Final Fantasy VII in my opinion, and I really can't wait to see what they do with it. But please do share your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think of this approach that Square seem to be taking to the original in really fleshing out some of these locations that we visit so briefly in Final Fantasy VII, but it seems we're going to be spending a lot more time in as we visit them again in the remake. Yeah, please do share your thoughts, and for more Final Fantasy VII remake updates, make sure you stick around the channel. I've got more coming your way. See you next time.